being in that situation of, like I said, we sold the last unit and I still owed the bank $1.2 million. That was the biggest lemon I'd ever dealt with. Dayspring Bank, I've mentioned it to other people, should have put me in bankruptcy over that deal. Knock on something, they didn't. I'm way stronger because we worked through that. That would probably be my biggest lemonade moment.
Yeah. What would you say the best advice you'd give someone like me or a young person trying to get into real estate would be?
Go buy something. Don't be stupid.
Right.
But, you're going to manage it. You're going to deal with tenants. You're going to have to deal with uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations you've never been in before. And so you put it on a 20-year loan. You're thinking, okay, 40, my God, I'm an old guy when I'm 40, you're thinking. The problem is that happens way faster than you think. And now created ideas and options for yourself later for things you haven't even thought of yet.
Welcome back to another episode of When Life Gives You Lemons podcast. I am Ty Davis, joined by Jim Posey today. Jim, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Ty. Appreciate the invitation.
Yeah, of course. Jim, give us a little bit about your background.
Been in Omaha basically all my life, and was a real estate agent, for the longest. I had a lawn service in high school and into college, and then became a realtor. 28 years ago, I said, I should buy some real estate rather than just being the realtor, and bought a little sixplex in South Omaha, and just kind of kept acquiring along the way, and so now I don't sell real estate quite as much. I do, I manage and maintain our portfolio.
Nice. What kind of sparked your desire for entrepreneurship back when you first started?
I don't know that I knew that answer. It was, like I said, it was just kind of, for me, it was a way to basically make money. And so I was, it was great because I took my dad's lawnmower and I went and mowed people's lawns. And so I had no startup costs because it was his mower. And it just kind of grew from there.
So the lawn mowing business was your first
gig.
Nice. That's fun. I always... back in my old house, I would always mow my parents' lawn until I wasn't very good. I kind of messed up a couple times, and so they took me off the job. On it. But what was the catalyst for your real estate and Straightline development venture?
I've purchased some multifamily, some retail, a lot of single-family houses. And I do a lot of work in the lower, I don't do really expensive, I try to buy them, if it's been on fire, I love those. I'll buy them, fix them up, and rent somebody out. I try not to sell. I try to just buy and hold. And then, let time do all the heavy lifting. And then, now we're, 2 decades into it, and it's just made an incredible difference.
Yeah, throughout these 2 decades, what would you say has been your biggest challenge?
In reality, dealing with probably more of the macro economy, the downturn in 2008 and kind of the great financial recession was really pretty hardcore. Mm-hmm. I had developed a little project in South Omaha in Little Italy, and it was a condo project, and we got done building the project, and the federal government, through the Federal Home Loan Administration, quit giving out condo loans. I sold the last unit, and I still owed the bank $1.2 million. So, that was, those are some pretty tall obstacles to try to get through.
Yeah, would you say you've worked through your projects, like recent projects before you stopped? Would you say that those challenges helped you I would say, like you thought differently whenever you kind of started new projects.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, what's the old saying, that doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
Right.
And that definitely was a situation where, you know, and Dayspring Bank, like I've mentioned it to other people, should have put me in bankruptcy over that deal, and knock on something, they didn't.
Yeah.
And now I'm way stronger, because we worked through that, and it was scary. I'd never been there before, and so what can they do? What can the bank do? They can take my house? They can put me in bankruptcy. It was a really weird time, and being a realtor, nobody was buying houses in that time, so it got pretty hairy.
Yeah. What do you think, like, are some other ways that Dayspring and other banks could help people be successful, like when they go through hard times like that?
I don't know that I can speak to you from the banking side of Dayspring, because I'm not on that side of the coin, but I can tell you from the customer side, the borrowing side. Don't be over communicative. Don't shut them out. You may not have the answer. They probably don't have the answer either. And just keep talking, keep working it out. Hopefully, at some point, everything works itself out.
Right. Right. And what would you say the best advice you'd give someone like me or a young person trying to get into real estate would be, just throughout all of your challenges, obstacles, everything you've learned throughout your couple decades of doing it?
So I've got two boys, and they're 26 and 23, and I've been talking to them the whole time and encouraging. So I'll say the same thing to you. Go buy something. Don't be stupid.
Right.
But you're going to manage it. You're going to deal with tenants. You're going to have to deal with uncomfortable situations, uncomfortable conversations you've never been in before. But what you're doing is you're allowing other people to get up and go to work and earn money and give it to you. And then you're using that money to pay off the debt. And while I don't know how old you are,
20.
but 20.
Yep.
Okay. So when you're at 20, you're looking at me like, all right, he's an old dude. But it comes way faster.
I wouldn't say old dude.
Way faster than you think. And so you put it on a 20-year loan. You're thinking, okay, 40. My God, I'm an old guy when I'm 40. You're thinking. The problem is that happens way faster than you think, and you've now created ideas and options for yourself later for things you haven't even thought of yet. I can tell you, 28 years ago when I bought that little sixplex, my only purpose was because my wife had a 401k and I didn't. And I'm like, holy cow, I should do something like that. So I went and bought that little sixplex. And then the next year I bought a couple more houses. The next year I bought a few more houses. The next year I bought a bunch of houses. Where it goes with it is I'm doing things today and making decisions today on things I would have never fathomed. Even in my wildest dreams, I couldn't have fathomed of what I'm able to do now, all because I let time do all the heavy lifting. Let other people pay off your asset, and then you can sell it, you can 1031, you can borrow against it, you can do things you can't even begin to imagine.
Yeah, that's some good advice. I really appreciate that.
So here's the other thing. I'm sorry.
No, keep going. Keep going.
I would tell you your goal, buy one every year.
One every year?
Your goal is to get to 10 as fast as you can. And I know it sounds crazy. And you're going to have to stretch and get comfortable with things you might not be comfortable with. I kind of started in one part grew up in one part of town, and it took me a long time to get comfortable with other parts of town. But buy things, especially if you can add value. And if you're not handy, then learn to be handy and slowly you'll figure it out. I didn't start out handy. I tried to buy things that were like all fixed up. But now, all this time later, I won't buy things that are all fixed up.
So you
Like I
fix
said,
them
I
up.
like to buy a house that's been on fire, or has something somebody doesn't want to deal with.
Can we go into a little bit more, can we go a little bit more in depth about how Dayspring helped you whenever you went through the economic, the struggle with, kind of what happened?
Absolutely. Like I said, I walked into the buzzsaw of, building a 8-unit, well, it was going to be 16-unit condo project, and you can no longer they were parking Ferraris in garages in Florida to get these condos to sell, and federal government came back and said no condo loans. And, we had a fully built project, all 8 units were for sale, and couldn't do a condo loan. So it was, your pool of buyers went down to who can pay cash, basically, or get a conventional loan. And so it made it much more difficult. Having worked through that, I had one advantage on the bank, was that I had a couple of portfolio loans at the bank on a bunch of, not a bunch, in my world it was a bunch, other people's it's not, but for me it was a good size loan. And so if they pushed me over on that deal, it was going to topple the other parts of the deal. And so they had a little bit of an incentive to want to work with me. But ultimately it worked out, and I give them kind of first shot at anything I do. Like I said, I recently bought another business, and that's the first bank I went to see if for the loan, because it's just once you develop that relationship, and that's what I try to teach my kids is develop that relationship over a long period of time. I realize you can't in the beginning. But you got to start somewhere, and you try to get a good relationship with the banker, and then the bank, and it just keeps slowly growing. And that's one of the things about real estate. Real estate isn't get rich quick. It's glacial speeds, but it's get rich slow.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably hard for young people to grasp because they want to get it all at one time.
I'm not a flipper. I know a lot of guys who are flippers, and they seem to do well with it.
Right.
That I've tried a couple of them, didn't do so well, but I do well.
Stick to what you're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the lemon that you turned into lemonade? That's kind of like the phrase we like to use on this podcast, in your personal or professional life, or both, if you want to go into both.
Kind of being in that situation of, like I said, we sold the last unit, and I still owe the bank $1.2 million. That was as big as lemon I'd ever dealt with. And then just slowly, I ended up buying a portfolio from that same bank. And the way we structured the financing to buy that portfolio and to help pay off some of my debt, just the way the whole thing kind of worked out. But again, for me, it all goes back to the bank. Like I said, they should have crushed me.
Right.
Yeah, that was probably the darkest time, just because I had never been there. It's kind of like you're in a room and there's all these lights right now, and we can see what we're doing. But in that situation, I'd never been there before.
Right.
It was like walking into a dark room that you didn't even get to see where the furniture was before you tried to walk across the room, and you just got to feel your way through it.
Yeah.
And it was a mess.
Right.
But I'm infinitely stronger because of it now, because of the lessons that I learned through it. And I would imagine that would probably be my biggest lemonade moment.
Yeah.
Did another development project downtown Omaha. It was the Kimball Lofts. It was taking an old laundry building, which was kind of warehouse space, and converting it into, pretty high-end units. And again, we were kind of in the same situation, 2008, 9, 10. The market was ugly, and battling through that. But again, the life lessons that you pick up along the way. So I didn't make any money on the deal. Right. I wasn't the main financial guy. Another guy kind of took the hit on it. But wow, you can learn lessons along the way.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all that today. We brought some Dayspring lemonade in for you to kind of test. We can rate it out of 10. You might want to shake it up a little bit.
All right. Oh, yeah. It is kind of well, that's better than I thought it was going to be.
Pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll keep
You can see it's got the watermelon, orange, apple, and lemon in it. Probably could taste the watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what we tried to go for a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
Then we also brought you, you can open this.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for bringing the insight. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we thank you.
You bet. That was very nice.
Thank you so much for joining us on another episode of When the Life Gives You Lemons podcast. And thank you, Jim, again for sharing all your amazing insight. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.